Guys, if you've been to any of our events before, you'll know that one of the most important things for us to do throughout our events is to speak to our clients. And speak to our clients in front of you guys and delve into what we've done, what they've done, and how they've got to where they are today. And my guest today, we've worked together now since July 2022 as a company, Coaching Concierge Scale, that helps coaches take businesses from 10K months and grow. And firstly, I just want to make the introduction to Joe Gibson. Joe, thank you for joining us.
No worries. Glad to be here.
Good man. And Joe contacted me actually in July 2022. And I remember, we were in Newcastle at the time.
Yeah.
Newcastle, PT, and I will explain to you kind of where we're at now to give you some context of the business. And then what we're going to do is to spend the next 35, 40 minutes going into the aspects of what we've done. Because so many of you here will be thinking, okay, it's all good about talking about your story and how you found the journey, but I'm going to unpack some of the tactical stuff, really just tell you guys what's gone on. How we've grown the lead gen with you, what you've done, how we've got there. But ultimately, in July 2022, you were earning from PT around about, was it 6 or 7?
Yeah, well, I had a decent online client base. I think I had 30 clients when I reached out to you. And I think with PT and online, it was about $8,000 a month.
Yeah. Now we're sitting now at about 23 at the moment, right? So Joe is, what are you, 20?
26.
26 at the moment, right? So this is amazing. And Joe's done incredibly well, and I know will continue to go on and do great things. But when we were speaking, you said to me, I don't want to do the PT anymore. And I also don't want to be in this country anymore. And you were so definitive with that at the age of 24. Where's that come from?
I think it's maybe important to provide a little bit of context. I went to uni in Edinburgh for 4 years, did business there. Started like a social media agency. It didn't really work out. So PT was always kind of like the backup plan. Never even considered it when I was at uni. Like no one in my school would have ever thought of doing that. But I've been training since I was 13 for rugby. Like absolutely love bodybuilding. So when kind of COVID hit, that business didn't work. I was like, well, I'll just do my PT. So I qualified as a PT in lockdown. Built myself up to like a full diary within about a month of when the gyms opened. I was just relentless, posting on Instagram every single day in lockdown. When the gyms opened, I already had 10 clients. And then I got myself up to the point in Newcastle where my diary was full. I didn't really think I could charge anymore I probably didn't have the confidence to charge anymore. But at that age, I was like, I can't really be charging more than like 40, 50 pounds an hour. I already had a decent online base, but I was literally like working 7 days a week and I just couldn't really see where I was going to go from here. Always wanted to move abroad as well. Just loved the sun, loved tanning. So Newcastle just wasn't really the place to be. And then, I'd watched like Mike and stuff move over a couple of years before to Dubai and I was quite interested by it. And I remember I was in Mallorca with my dad on New Year and I was just like, I'm going to move to Dubai. And he's like, sound. And then ever since then, I had like 10 online clients at that point. And I just figured out I just had this number in my head. I was like, I need to make $5,000 online to be able to live in Dubai. And then from there, I went for it, just saved loads of money. And then initially I was going to move in October. I think it was, last year. Moved it forward because I just got bored. And then I reached out to you in July. I just found myself, I was listening to your podcast with George Armstrong. And I was just like, a lot of what he was saying was resonating with me. I didn't feel like had too many clients, wasn't charging enough, didn't really know what the next step was. Was just a little bit lost. And I remember, I messaged you and you voice noted me back within 5 minutes, which I was quite surprised by. Yeah.
Hustling. No, it's interesting to me because at your age, I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. Where does it come from you to just have that clarity that I want to move and I want to build a bigger business? Because at a younger age, I know there's quite a few people in here that are kind of like, yeah, I'm just trying to find that?
I think for me, it's just always been like what's next. I've always had something like when I was at school, I wanted to get into the best university I could. Wasn't quite clever enough to go to like Oxford and Cambridge, so I was like, well, Edinburgh's good. I'm gonna get into there. Did that, boxed that off. All I wanted to do in lockdown was move out my mum's house. Did that, and then it was like, right, let's move away. Moved away, and then I remember having a conversation with you about 3 months when I was in Dubai. I was like, well, what's next? I'm lost now. Like for me, I need something that I'm working towards, like with my physique, whether that's a photo shoot, whether it's a half marathon, a marathon, whatever it is. It needs to be that next thing. Otherwise, I don't move forward.
To anybody that's potentially coming over here to move, what's been your experience of the move overseas? To just give everybody some context and get an idea of what the move's like, especially at your age.
To Dubai in general.
To Dubai, yeah.
Stressful, just like the most stressful year of my life. Like, can't even describe it. I can't even put to words what it's like. But you need savings, like you do. Like, and I knew that, so I saved up tons of money before I came. It was never an issue with that. But just adjusting to the culture, like learning to drive on the roads and mental. I knew like a couple of people here. Like a lot of them I know now through your program. But I remember coming to this event last year, didn't know anyone. Literally didn't know anyone. And now like all my mates are like the big hitters. But yeah, the move was stressful, but like now I'm back, it's going to be good for sure.
Something that's interesting, we talked about networking a lot, we talked about traveling a lot, but something I think is amazing, you mentioned George Armstrong. And George was a client of ours, his business has got over 350 clients all over the world. And I love the whole idea of the networking thing because then you said to me, you were inspired to join the program because of him. And then as a result of that, you ended up doing a training session with him.
Yeah, I just messaged him. I saw he was here and I was like, do you want to go on a run? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And then that just like blew the lid off what I thought was even possible. It's like he's 28. I think he's got 30 coaches working for him. I was just like, there's just literally no ceiling to this. And just kind of listening to him about the way that he runs his business and like for him, the big thing that struck me about him was like he just loves his team. Like it's all about the team, grow the team, give back to them. And then met up with him again and like speak to him fairly regularly now. And it's just like network is so important. Like just who you spend your time with, who you train with, who you speak to on social media. It's just like absolutely essential, I think.
Has it been quite uncomfortable for you to try and build that network and talk to people? What would your advice be to people that are trying to build that network? Because you have done that here and you've got some great friends now.
You just got to put yourself in that environment and like, joining the program was a great way to do that. But just not being afraid to just message people like, if you're doing similar things to them, I think if you're in good shape as well, it opens a lot of doors because people respect you. Like are you like actually who you say you are on your social media? Like everyone knows like I am. Like I train relentlessly and that's probably why I've built the friendship group that I have now.
How hard have you found it in the early days to get crystal clear on who it is that you were targeting? Because anybody can, take their top off, go on social media and build a following, but to build a brand where people are actually wanting to work with you now, how hard is it for you to actually get crystal clear on who it was that you wanted to work with?
I think initially when you start, like when you're PT and you do have to just take on everyone, but there are maybe a few clients that you like, if I had 15 of them, it would just be the perfect job sort of thing. And I think you earn your stripes that you're just consistently putting out that content and you do start to attract more of those people. And for me, like when I was PT and I was coaching a lot of my mates from school's parents who are business owners. I was coaching a lot of friends of friends, like similar people to myself. And like when I put my own content out now, I'll never put a post up without thinking like, would my ideal customer actually resonate with this? Would they want to work with me off this? And that's what I do now. And like some of the sales calls I'm having now are just so good. And I'm just speaking to people, I'm like, I want to work with you. Like I had one with a guy yesterday who he'd been running. He's got a marathon this Sunday. He's an entrepreneur. He's got a business in the Netherlands in Dubai. And he was just like, I want to go hybrid. I want to learn how to lift and I want to learn how to run. I'll train twice a day. I'll eat whatever you tell me to eat. And I'm just like, that's who I want to work with. But like that's only come from him probably finding me on Instagram, liking what I'm putting out, and then choosing to message me, and then booking the call.
I love that. And you've got a lot clearer with your message and your voice. Over the last 15 years, what's changed in you the most, either intentional or just organic from the natural process of building the business and traveling and moving? What's changed in you the most that you think has been the most pivotal to you moving forward personally?
I think, what, in terms of like my message and...
No, your message is very, very clear, but you've grown as a person. In the last 15 months, what have been the most pivotal changes in you personally that you've seen?
I just think like as you grow the business, grow the team, deal with stuff, like move country, like you just build like an insane tolerance for stress. And I feel like I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that'll happen that are new, but like I feel like I've experienced a lot now. You know, you have clients leave, things happen, people complain about things. You just deal with it, fix it. You know, you fix the problem, you move on, and you just become a lot more resilient to it. And I think you always talk about, you know, building that business muscle. I think that's so true. Like you know, a year and a half ago, I had like 10 clients, and I was still doing loads of PT. Like you can't expect to develop ridiculously quickly. I think it's just taking time. And I'm just accepting that.
Well, with that, the emotions of an online coach. Emotions of an online coach, you know, Spencer was talking about sales and learning how to say no, learning to accept no as part of the process. For you, what have been some of the online coaching challenges that you've run into emotionally and professionally that you've hit the wall, gone, right, I don't know how to deal with that, now I'm through it, now I've dealt with it? What are some of, just for a lot of people that are going to be going through these, what's to be expected?
I think obviously like you've got your monthly targets, your sales, your cash collected or whatever. You know, you work backwards from that. You've got your book calls, your outreach, and like you're gonna have weeks where you'll book like one call, maybe not even that, and you think your whole world's falling apart, and then you'll book 9 in 2 days, and you'll be on track for your best month ever. And it's like, well, if I'd actually just steamrolled through it and not had that stress last week, I'd be doing okay. And like I think that's probably what you helped me with the most is managing emotions, because when you're not in a good mood, like your check-in quality suffers, your clients aren't getting as good of a service. So I think it's just about handling that and moving forward. And like, I know what works now. I just need to keep doing it. And if we do have a bad 2 weeks, you just keep going. It doesn't matter. But yeah.
I don't think a lot of coaches that don't work with us, especially in scale, will realize this, but you've messaged me on multiple occasions, and you know, I want to talk about this, where your head's melted, things are not working, and you've just said, can I have a call? And it's not about tactics, it's not about strategies, it's not about lead gen, it's not about emails, it's just, I need my head leveling. What have been some of the big levelers that you've kind of really pulled from some of the conversations we've had that you have to go through, you have to work through if you want to break through to those next levels of revenue, clients, managing your team?
I think the stretch, like, do you have something to work towards? I think we had that conversation a few times where I was just like, I was waking up, I was just doing check-ins every day, had about 70 clients, and I was just like, not really enjoying it. I don't really know why. And then you kind of like broke it down. You were like, well, what do you enjoy doing? It's like, well, I love training. I love creating content. I do enjoy doing coaching, but not doing check-ins all day, every day. So you were like, well, let's restructure your week. Let's do check-ins on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. And then let's spend the middle of the week going out with a videographer and doing what you really enjoy, like running on the beach and stuff like that. And like, I feel like I've got the perfect weekly structure now. I've got the perfect daily structure that just allows me to, yes, do the hard work, but still enjoy it at the same time. I think if you can make it somewhat fun, then it makes the whole thing a lot more fun.
So let's look at how bad the week was that you didn't enjoy. Because a big thing that I will teach to anybody that I work with from a scale perspective is you're designing a business and a life that you want rather than working for something that you don't want. So what you were saying before, I mean, online coaching can be very unfulfilling. You know, Kirk and I were talking earlier, you can go from working in a gym thinking you're spending, time for money, and then you sit on your laptop doing exactly the same. So the quality of life that's changed now, what have you actually implemented on a week-to-week basis that's given you the fulfillment at the time to be able to do the things you want to do?
I think just like something that I'm going to look to improve next year is that I'm going to get myself a nicer apartment, because I am going to spend 60 hours a week in it working. So that's important to me. But just, as I say, having that daily structure where, I'll go to the beach in the morning, I'll go on a run, or I'll go on a walk, then I'll do my work, and then, I've figured out that I can basically work round the clock if I take Wednesday and Saturday afternoons off. I can just rinse and repeat and keep going. And then if I do have those two kind of like lower intensity work days on Wednesday and Thursday, and I have those bigger check-in days on Monday, Tuesday, Friday, like it pretty much just goes year round. And then, we'll do a sprint, we'll work towards something, and then might go on holiday once every 3 months or whatever. And then because of obviously the weather in Dubai, we'll leave every summer. Look forward to that. Do some sort of launch off the back of that, create some content, and then it's just like got a sick year, and then you just rinse and repeat and make it better every year.
So you said about rinse and repeat. Let's get stuck into the actual business itself. So when we got together, I want to look at the stuff that's not sexy, the stuff that you just do every single day. And Sarah and I were talking about this only this morning. There's a lot that what you do, it's monotonous. You do the same things. But what were some of the first few things that you changed in the business that got you the highest return revenue-wise?
I remember the first thing he said to me was that I'm not going to teach you how to do anything until you've got your message right and your content. So we worked on that and like really understood who I was trying to speak to. And I think that's actually changed and developed a lot now. And I think I'm literally just crystal clear on that now. But I didn't really know back at the start, so we had to fix that.
What did you look at specifically to actually get that clarity? Because you're right, there's no point trying to move a business forward if you don't know what it is.
It was content pillars. I'd never even posted a result last year, like literally. And like my content, if you look at it now, it's like at least one result a week. It's showcase my own journey. It's probably some sort of health optimization. And I just rinse and repeat that every single week, and it works pretty well. Like I know things that work. The odd topless photo it brings people in, and then if they see, okay, you're actually putting out good quality content as well that's useful. Like it really resonates with a lot of people. And the second thing was the outreach, which was just a complete game changer. Like I think I had just over 10K followers when we started, but I'd never outbounded to anyone. So that pretty much took me from up to like 50 clients within like a month, which was like my first month here, and I didn't know what was going on. Like I couldn't handle it.
Let's talk about outreach, because it's a subject that people are like, oh God, I've got to do this outreach thing, right? It's a part of business. If you own any type of business, you've got to have the conversations, and then you've got to build the systems and the people to be able to do them consistently for you. It's the one thing to get right. What are the things that you've learned the most about having conversations and developing outreach? Because it's gone through quite a few different stages where you thought you'd nailed it, and then we changed it, and then you thought you'd nailed it, and we changed it. What have you learned?
I mean, you've got to have a proper conversation with people, and I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because like me and Kev went through it a few weeks ago and basically just realised that I was shooting for X amount per day and I wasn't actually spending enough time having proper, genuine conversations with these people. But people really do appreciate it. You want to find out what their problem is. If you send them a long message and go into it, they're like, wow, you actually really, really care. And like a lot of the clients that we attract will be, there might be runners who want to get into strength training, build a bit of muscle. They've got some injuries because they haven't done the strength training. I'll send them a long message or a voice note, and they'll be like, I'm really appreciate you actually taking the time to send that. And then when you get on the call with them, it's so much warmer. So that's essential. But I think you were like, you need to send 25 messages a day, and I was like, what? Like that's ridiculous. And now, we're sending a lot more than that. And that just goes back to the tolerance thing. It's just building that over time and just being ridiculously disciplined with doing it. Like, have your coffee in the morning, send 20 messages. It's done. It takes 20 minutes.
And so the messaging thing was a big thing. And then it got to a stage you were bringing in a lot of clients. And I think that next stage for you was the reality of needing somebody to be a coach. Because, look, the first stage is realizing what you didn't know, which was the message had to be clearer, the outreach and the conversations to get more book calls. Then there was the skill of, the sales calls to actually get them better. What have you taken away from the sales calls before we get into your team?
What in terms of
in terms of delivering sales calls and actually closing?
Just I find them always better when I, again, go back to actually having a genuine conversation with them and like learning something a little bit about them at the start, like trying to find something that you've got in common with them. Like again, this guy I was speaking to yesterday, like he's got a company in Dubai, so we were talking about that, and then you get into, right, well, what's going on? How can I help you, sort of thing, rather than just going in there with like a 10-step script and trying to just sell them. It doesn't really work for me.
And the person telling straight away that you're there to sell,
yeah.
essentially. Now, I'm sure a lot of people that look into that scale level of any business will start to think, well, I'm at 50, 60, 70 clients. You started to drive the numbers of the clients up. What was that? At that stage, you were busy and you were doing a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I just moved here, so it was overwhelming. So basically just needed to look for a coach.
So what's your advice now to coaches? You've been through the hiring process, not just once, twice, and you've had challenges with your own coaches. What have you experienced from the hiring phase now of, you're not old, and therefore the responsibility to have to manage and lead somebody else and manage appraisals and roles and responsibilities and results. What can you share with people that you've learned along the way with regards to leading and hiring?
I think you've got to be. I think you said you've got to be working like probably 2 months ahead. Like if you know that you're growing by X amount per month, it's like, can you and your current team actually handle that? If that was going to continue, and you might have an amazing month where you take on loads of clients, and then like if you've not got the team there ready, then like you've got to find the person, you've got to train them, you've got to make sure that you're happy with them. Maybe drip feed them a few clients. So I would always work ahead. Like I'm going to need to start looking for another one soon, because if it continues going the way I'm going, like I don't want to take any more myself. I don't really want to push the boys past a certain number, because I don't want the quality of service to drop. And then just managing them as well. Like they're never going to be you. They're never going to be as good as you. But I think you've got to accept that. I heard someone say like if they're 80% you, then you've won. And then you've got to have your monthly appraisals, and then like you're not just dealing with your own emotions, you're dealing with theirs. Like you might lose a client, but if they lose a client, they think that you're going to be annoyed with them, and it's just all this stuff. You've got multiple people to manage, and I've had to learn very fast to do that.
2 coaches. You've also brought somebody on you've had a few people that have helped you with your outreach. That's been a challenge, because we talk about hiring and managing. I don't think anybody really appreciates, as you're building this team to help you, what you see on the outside isn't necessarily, like I said earlier, on the inside. So the outreach training and the hiring process of these people, you're smiling because I know it's something that's frustrating.
Yeah.
But what's been your experience of hiring people to help you with doing your messaging?
I've hired too cheap and didn't fire fast enough, I think. Someone said that earlier. I think that's like, if I'd gotten rid of that one and replaced him quicker, it would have probably been in a different position now, but like you learn, don't you? And luckily I've got someone really good now who just putting a lot of effort into it, sending her videos every day, just critiquing things, and like we've booked more calls in the last few weeks than we've ever booked before. So I'm like, well, if we can just scale this, then it's going to take it to the next level, isn't it?
Your own personal influence. I see from your content the way that you are speaking on camera. You didn't used to do that.
No.
You've got a professional videographer that's helping you. You didn't used to do that. That's an uncomfortable step for a lot of people, getting in front of the camera and actually being authoritative and more influential. What have been some of the things that you've actually done that's helped you develop that influence and authority within your own space?
I think like if you're not confident speaking on camera, then it's probably more you're not confident in what you're talking about. Like I can talk about hybrid training all day because like I do it all day, every day. So I think if you're not confident in doing that, maybe look at, are you actually doing what you're claiming to do? But yeah, it's certainly like it is a bit nerve-wracking the first time you do it. And like if I look back at my videos when I started doing it with Mark, the videographer, they're definitely not as good as they are now. You've just got to get over it though. Like people do look up to you, even if you don't realize you have to do it, I think. And like probably just not giving a shit what you think other people think as well. Like, people from uni, people from school, like, you might think you're annoying them by putting these videos out. Well, they can always unfollow you, can't they?
There are different levels, 10K, 15K, 20K, 25K, all these steps above. And with every time you hit a certain level, you're like, Mark, Sarah, team, how do we go to the next level? Recently you had a very successful launch of your aesthetic program. Was it the other way around?
No, you got it right.
Did I get it right? I'm only going to say it once. But you had a launch of that program. How pivotal has it been for you to actually present something and redevelop something and present that to your market space?
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Because before it was just like, JG, fitness and health. It was
online
just,
coaching, yeah?
Yeah, and I just, I don't know, I can't even remember why. I think it was because I booked a trip to Marbella with the boys and just wanted to get diced, and then did a photo shoot prep and just did a couple of photo shoots off the back of that. And then I think I was speaking to you, and you were like, just document the whole thing, just show everyone what you're doing. So I did that, and everyone was, seeing you get leaner, photos are looking better, your running times are improving, and everyone's getting interested. A lot of people don't quite understand how you're running, but you've still got a decent amount of muscle. And then at the end of it, you're like, right, well, we're launching this. Do you want to know how to do it? And I was stupidly taking a holiday when I launched it, and then I think we had like 50 applications. I had to just do sales calls all the holiday, but it was just really good to see something like pay off. I think it just goes back to that instant delayed gratification you were talking about earlier. That took probably 3 months to do. You had to lose the body fat, you had to document it and all that, and then it banged at the end.
There's obviously plenty of different stages that you've gone through. We've done launches throughout the year, we've redeveloped things, we've pushed on a little bit harder. How important have these kind of phases throughout the year been for you in terms of pushing on something and then taking a bit of a restock? I think a lot of people think that, every day has to be the same for 365. And one thing we developed together was listening to you and realizing you talked about that muscle, the work capacity, but you've realized that you work better in phases. That's how you work. But how is that uncovered, and how do you now operate? How do you work?
I don't think I'll ever be someone that takes a full week off. I just don't think it's realistic, and I don't think you will either. You've said that to me, but you can certainly push harder at certain times. But I think just try and figure out how you work, and then just do that. And for me, it is cruising year round, and then going absolutely all in on a certain period of time, and then you will get probably an influx of clients off that. And then we took on a lot of clients for that launch, and then a few things broke. We had to fix that. Didn't really push the numbers past that. Fixed it. Okay, let's push again. So you have to do that. And then I think even at a micro level, in your week, I know what days I'm working harder on, and it works well for me.
And just in terms of the kind of time that you're putting in, I think it's really important for people to understand now how you've structured your day, because I think a lot of people are thinking, you've got to be on the outreach 7 or 8 hours every single day, banging it out. You obviously have your team that are helping you. What does a day look like for you now in terms of the way that you run the business and how you've managed to structure that?
Up every morning at 5:30, either running or walking, do my steps, and then try and do the first, the thing that I don't enjoy first. So that'll be doing the outreach, sending the loom to the VA, and then probably doing the check-ins if it's a check-in day.
Let's just talk about that for a second. It's something we implemented with you in terms of the training was providing your VA with something every single day where you're reviewing the work. How important has that been to their training and development?
Yeah, it's essential because they're essentially acting as you in some regards in your messages. So it's if you don't put in the work, then you're going to get caught out at some point, and it's going to be embarrassing. And ultimately, the quicker you can train them up, the quicker you can get your calls booked in, the more clients you can get. So as soon as she started booking them in independently, I was just like, this needs to be my focus for the whole of October, and I'm not even going to look at anything else until this is done, and then we can do something else.
And we're adding quite a lot in at the minute now. There's quite a few new things. If the things that you're doing now with the emails and the YouTube, and also we're going to talk about audience growth strategies in a minute, because I think this is something that a lot of people feel that it's hard to get. But adding all these things in now, like your YouTube and your email, are they things in the early days that you would have been able to add in? A lot of coaches try and do everything all at once.
I think I've started adding in things like that, like the YouTube. The YouTube, I'm got no aspiration to make any money off it. It's not necessarily to get leads through, but it's more confirmation. I've, for example, had a few people who have gone to my YouTube, watched the video, come back, then book a call, and then they've watched 20 minutes of you and they bought into you, and it's a lot easier to convert them. It's just something I quite like doing as well. It's documenting the process. I think we always talk about the long game as well. So I'm quite happy to put a bit of effort into that platform. It's going to benefit me 5 years down the line. Same with LinkedIn. We have got a few clients off LinkedIn, but it's certainly not the main gen. Lead gen for the moment, it's always going to be Instagram right now anyway.
Well, we're talking about Instagram, and I think this is important to talk about kind of strategies, because a lot of coaches get to a bit of a plateau, especially with your audience, and something that I don't think a lot of people really do, and something that we've been doing with you recently to encourage or help you get a and audience growth is actually taking advantage of some of the advertising strategies that Instagram provide for us. And I think a lot of people overcomplicate it. How simple, in a way, has this strategy been to drive new engagement people and clients?
Yeah, so I think when I did start that kind of photo shoot prep, obviously content improved a little bit, and I just trialed like boosting posts, and it gives you an option where you can put like £5 to £10 a day behind it, and it'll say you can boost it to a similar audience. So I just tried it, and just like was at a point where I was getting like 20 or 30 followers a day for like £5 to £10 a day. Obviously, you know, that's the VA's outreach sorted right there. They don't need to spend as much time going through all your posts and stuff, just generating conversations. And like, it's unlikely that someone that's just followed you is probably going to sign up. Like, it has happened a few times, but you know, they're people that you can speak to. You can get them on your lead magnet, on your email list, and you know, in a year's time, they'll probably sign up. So it's certainly worth doing, definitely.
Are you thinking a little bit more now about nurturing people rather than just trying to get them straight on a call? Are you now starting to think, you know, with your weekly newsletter, starting to think a little bit further down the line in terms of, okay, I'm nurturing people for the long term?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I send out 3 emails a week now, and I've been fairly consistent with that. It's a transformation. It's a weekly workout, just pure value, no call to action on it, just purely just here's a workout that I'm doing this week, and then a link to my YouTube video. So it's, you know, some people watch it. So again, just building that kind of longer form content, and you know, hopefully further down the line that they will sign up, definitely.
How have you managed the relationship with money, sales, and constantly pushing for more over the last 18 months?
I think you've got to have something to work towards that you want, and I think it goes back to what they were saying before, is like what do you want to do? Like, because I think once you've hit a certain amount of money, it's not really going to change your lifestyle too much. But for me, it's like I want to create a sick brand. So, you know, the more money I make, the more I can put back into the business, to the team, grow that. You know, we can work with a videographer more frequently. Like, you know, go to Bali for 2 weeks, let's take a videographer and do YouTube and put it back into that. That's the way I see money now. But not being afraid to charge a bit more, I think, as well. And understanding that.
Sarah and I talked about this earlier. You know, we struggle with some of our clients, whether it's in build or scale, because they just don't become interested in the marketing process. This is something that myself, Kev, and the rest of the team always talk about. You know, you came into this when you first started speaking to me without really that much interest in the marketing side of it. It was, look, I want to grow a business and move to Dubai. Now, Sarah and I were talking about this. When we talked to you about creating a newsletter, selling on the newsletter, the copywriting, the content creation, the planning, you're a lot more interested in it now, and you actually take on board what we're telling you. How important has it been for you to really start taking that on board? Because you do, and a lot of people don't. They just want to get the sales, they want to get the money up, and they want to get the clients. But you've been working so hard on the retention and the marketing, but also to understand it.
Yeah, I think like initially when I moved to Dubai, it was literally just let's make enough money to actually just survive. Like that was like goal.
Like phase 1, right?
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, I can actually do that now. So what am I interested in? And like I love the marketing side of it. Like aside from like the actual coaching, it's definitely the thing that I enjoy the most. So like I think, you know, people talk about like flow state and stuff. Like if you can get into that, then like you'll be unstoppable and you can work forever. And like for me, that's, you know, being with the videographer, doing the YouTube and stuff. So that's definitely where I want to spend more of my time, and just creating something that looks good, I think. And that
what would you say to coaches that want all the money, want all the travel, want all the things that you're doing, but just can't get their head in the marketing game?
I think like the first guy I ever worked for, the first gym I ever worked in, he was an unbelievable coach, but he just had this thing against marketing. And it's like if you don't get yourself out there, then no one's going to know you're a good coach. So you've got to put yourself out there. And it is just a game of attention to some extent, but then backing it up with like good results and like showing that you're actually a good coach as well. So like you've got to do it. I think you have to.
How do you feel that you have learned to differentiate yourself? Because your hybrid methodology and the athletic aesthetic, you know, I think a lot of people make that transition from coach to brand builder. What was the moment for you? I mean, now you're on the edge of, you've got this brand, and now it's just going to take off. You know, there's going to be some big growth spurts to come for you, but that difference between going from just being a coach to actually having a program now and defining this is what I'm getting up every single day to help people achieve?
Yeah, I think you have to differentiate yourself in some way, and it just kind of clicked for me at one point because I was just kind of helping people lose weight, build a bit of muscle and things like that, but like I was never gonna go fully down the bodybuilding route, so it just never really made sense to me. And I also really liked running, and I was like, well, if I can actually I was combining them, but I wasn't really showcasing that much. And then people start asking you questions about it. I'm like, well, let's just market the business in this way. And I thought it was going to kill a lot of my audience off, but if anything, I think it actually helped a lot more, and we've attracted a lot more people through that.
A lot of coaches in the room here will be making money, and then as soon as they get to 10K months, they start blowing it all. As soon as they get to 20K months, they start blowing it all. One thing that you and I talked about, and you said to me, who do I need to speak to when it comes to investing? You don't throw it away. So I want to delve into this because this is very inspiring, because when I was younger, it wasn't on the forefront of my mind, but you said, I'm putting a percentage into investments, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. What would your advice be to a coach that's just hit their first 10 to 15K month that's about to spank it all?
Don't do that. Because I think anyone can have a big month, they can do a launch, but can you actually maintain that? And you might, Dubai's expensive, you're going to have a few bills you need to pay, you're going to need to, if you are here, you're going to need to renew your license and stuff like that. So I think always be putting something away. And I just wanted to eliminate stress. So if I can just save a bit each month, know that I'm going to be all right when I'm 50, 60, I can just really enjoy and go all in on what I'm doing now without I don't want that financial stress.
And what have you started doing? I mean, you've talked to me about what you're doing with the percentages of your income each month. Just talk us through kind of your foundational strategy right now to just inspire people to, think a bit differently about their money.
Just started working with Ryan Moore. I think a few people here work with him. He's a wealth financial advisor. So I just had the consultation call with him, and I've just committed to putting X amount in each month, and not even thinking about it. And I think when we basically figured out a strategy where we've got 3 to 6 months run rate in the business account. Anything above that gets invested. So you never feel like you've got much money. You're essentially running it dry each month, and it's like day one every day. I did that launch, I stuck it all straight in. And it's well, let's go again. Do
you think a lot of coaches get comfortable because they see 20, 30K in the bank account and think, and then they pull off the brakes? But it's a good idea to be able to pull it out, put it somewhere else so you haven't really got access to it?
Yeah, I think that I think it goes back to figuring out what you respond well to. And I just love accountability. I've got you, I've got a nutrition coach, I've got a performance coach, I've got him. So if I've told someone I'm going to do something, I don't do it, I find it quite embarrassing. So I always knew I was going to invest that every single month, and I've actually ended up putting way more in than I thought. So it just works well for me.
And making more.
Yeah.
So what do you feel you have to get rid of the current Joe, or learn more about to get to the next level? Not just necessarily monetary wise, but managing a team, leading a team, and taking the client base to the next level. What have you got to get rid of or add new?
It's all personal brand. It literally is, and I didn't really understand that until probably 6 months ago. But just putting back into that, putting actual money into that, growing it that way. And I mean, I've kind of done it already, but I just don't spend time with anyone who isn't going to who isn't on a similar level or has got similar values and things like that, because it's just a waste of time, to be honest. Even if you're not working, we're meeting up with other coaches and we're going to a beach club, but we're talking about outreach and stuff like that. It's just you're just constantly focused on what you're doing.
It's the language of growth that you're surrounded by.
Yeah, and I spend 5 hours a week running, but I'm still got a podcast in listening to personal branding or someone in a similar industry who's further ahead and stuff like that. So you're just constantly drilling it into yourself.
Well, look, I know that this is, to some people in the room, it's phenomenal. To other people in the room, it's a reminder to them of kind of where they were at certain stages in their career. But it's so important for us when we do these events to bring up people that have achieved great things. I do want to give you guys the opportunity, because maybe you're, starting out your business, you're developing your business, or there's something that Joe said that you would like to ask him something about. So is there anybody here that's got any questions for Joe at all? Anybody? Yep, cool. We got a mic down here. You want?
What's next?
Bigger and better, bro. Just as I said before, just personal brand, build a team. Just want to be the best hybrid brand. Simple as that.
Best hybrid brand. Love that. Any more questions, guys? Yeah. We've got Ben over here. Oh, Kira, you go.
Sorry, I had the mic. Just a question as well. So last time, like whenever it was over a year ago when we met, like how have you kind of built up the confidence and become the person you are today? Because when we met at the start, you were totally different to where you are today.
What's that? I think it's that whole Mosey quote, and it's like, build up a stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. Like, I can confidently say I can do that now. Like, that's probably why. And I think hanging around people like yourself, I would say that.
That's amazing, because I remember us having that conversation about we need to get some results. We need to see it, and we need to push hard. And I think that's one of the things a lot of coaches don't do, is they want to make it, but they don't spend enough time on providing the social proof that it's actually there, because that gives you the confidence, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like if someone inquires, like I can, I had a call with a girl the other day who wants to run a half marathon and then a marathon, and she's like, have you done this with anyone similar? I'm like, sent her 4 results from girls same age who've done it and who have all PB'd, and she's like, okay, sweet, let's go.
Love that. Ben.
Hi, Joe. So I just had a question about the VAs. I've just recently hired my first VA, but having a few issues. So when you're training your VA and you're saying that you're doing Loom videos, are you literally just going through the messages they've sent and going, yes, this is good, yes, this is good, this is what I do better? Is that the sort of stuff you do?
Yeah, I'd probably I do go in every morning. I'll just randomly select like 5 of her conversations. I'll go over them with her, on the Loom, and then I'll actually just, I'll wake up every morning, there'll probably be 10 messages there, so I'll just go in, respond to all of them, and then Loom it and just go over and explain to her, why have I said this, why have I said that. That's what you do, and just do it every single day.
And is that what I'm looking for? Is that the hardest thing about the hiring of somebody new into the business, like really getting across to them exactly what you want them to do, rather than them kind of going off on a tangent and doing their own thing?
Yeah, I think you realize that a lot of the conversations that you have are actually fairly similar, and as long as they know roughly where they're going. But I think the mistake that I made stupidly with the first one was he didn't have a very good knowledge of fitness, which was just a huge bottleneck. And then I hired her, and like she does CrossFit, she's done an Ironman, she knows exactly what she's talking about, and I've barely had to critique her. So I'm like, well, she's really valuable, I want to keep her. And then it's like you've got to motivate them, don't you? So you want them to get sales, and then you pay them commission, so then they'll stay.
I'll just add something to that for you, Ben, as well. I think people are too quick to just get the first hire. I'll normally interview about 6 minimum at a time, good, bad, and the ugly. And as Joe said, they have to understand your business. And the third thing to say on that is, if they don't understand your business, then they do 10% of your messages, and then you do 90% until they watch and they learn, and then you have the confidence in them to do it. Because I am hiring another new one on Monday, and they were like, what do I need to do? And I said, by Monday, watch my YouTubes, all of them. And I'll test you on them.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've
and if you haven't done it, then we don't move forward. If you want it, then we'll do it. And the thing is, for me, is there's a lot of money for somebody to make in my Instagram account. A setter can make between 5 and 7K a month just sending messages and booking calls. That's over 50 grand a year. So it's a proper job. And I think the other thing to just finally add on that is DM setters is not a part-time job. It's a profession. And in the industry, setters are salespeople. They have to be inspired to make money for you and themselves. And if they are quite happy with a couple of grand a month or £1,500 a month, or they turn to you and go, how do I make 5K a month? How do I make 4K a month? You're like, well, we'll try and set a sort of structure up so you can make that possibly. Or how do I get from this to this? So I think the last thing I'll add on that is most people just don't train people. My workload at the moment is quadruple purely because we're hiring people at the moment. And that's all it is. It's like Joe just said, you know, I'm sending looms, I'm on calls. Anybody that works in the company that's responsible for selling your product or setting calls for you, they have to know you, like really, really well. They have to know that I always send a fist bump emoji at the end of certain messages. They have to know that I don't say, hey bud, in a message. You know, one of my old ones said, what's up, man? I've never said that in my life. Where have you got that from? Sorry, I thought I'd try something a bit different. You're wrecking my reputation, you know? So my reputation has spent 24 years to build. You're not coming in my account and ruining it, which is why my integrity means so much. If you get a message from me, you want to know it's from me, you know? And I think this comes back to it, you know? We've spent a lot of time training. You spent a lot of time with Kev, really getting the messaging right, but then the skill is now training somebody to do that as well, right?
Yeah, you've got to be good at it first before you show someone else how to do it. Definitely.
One more question. Anybody got one? Come.
Hi, Joe. Well, that's loud. Basically, I feel like we've had a pretty similar trajectory with the last year or so. My question is, have you felt any pressure, and how do you handle pressure to continue at the pace that you're going?
I like pressure. I thrive off pressure. Like I'm not gonna. If you don't set that goal, you're not gonna go for it. But like there's no one telling me that I need to do it. Like, it's what I want to do. Like my parents don't put any pressure on me whatsoever. Like it's just what I want. And like you will apply pressure, but only when you know I've asked you to do that. So yeah, it's just me. Like I love that. So in answer to your question, I think just decide if you like that, I guess. But like gains are to be made on the other side of that, definitely.
It's the same in a prep, you know. Bodybuilding, physique, marathon running. You know, if you run and you want to keep running, you just want to keep running. If it's painful, you just keep going.
Yeah. Like I feel like I've always, if I've ever like stagnated, I can always go and assess it and be like, well, it's probably because I wasn't actually working towards anything. So like I've got like you know, physique, performance, business, travel. If I've got goals and all of them, then I'm chilling.
Cool. Guys, we're actually going to give you a break now. We want to be back, sat down, please, for 1:15 for our final speaker, which you're all going to learn a lot from. And we're all very, very excited to have him with us. So we'll see you back here, ready to go at 1:15. Joe, by the way, thank you.